So at this point, we want to bring in Claudia Roesler from Microsoft. She's got a great perspective on this. Obviously, might be a little bit more software focused, and as we mentioned, that is where Tech Stack 2.0 goes in earnest, and Claudia's got some thoughts. So if you're ready, Claudia, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Walt. Thanks to the Western Growers Association for allowing me to join you remotely today. It's a truly an exciting event. I was able to listen in so far. Now, a lot of the speakers have talked about the multitude of issues that we're facing in the industry, from the average age of farmers that is growing, the cost of labor, the pure fact of availability of labor. And we even learned that in some cases it's not even economic viable any longer to grow certain fruits or vegetables in certain regions. When I joined the Western Growers Association conversation, I think around 2019, all of a sudden those challenges become real. I mean, they became faces for me. I met farmers that were ready to rip out their trees so they can introduce automation on their farms. I even met growers that built their own robots. I learned that, some growers pay workers higher just to ensure they take their time and fruits don't get harmed when harvested. And I learned how incredibly difficult it is to keep seasonal workers healthy in times of COVID, not so much on the farm, but in the temporary housing they live and they spend their time after work. So for me, there's no question that there is a need for technology that's enabling humans. And there's also no question that this technology needs to be comparable or better when it comes to work quality, the speed, and also security standards when you compare it to humans. So we heard a little bit about this already, but this technology, this robot has a brain that can act on challenges you're giving it. It needs to be able to see. We also see robots that smell and that hear today already. It needs to understand contextual information like we humans would understand contextual information. So for example, a grape might look different if there's a wildfire around. So robots need to understand to process this information in a different way. They might need to understand human voice commands, sorry. And like Mike said, they need to be able to move, they need to be able to orient and hopefully not kill people or plants while they do it. We talk about autonomous systems. We talked a lot about actuators that grab and move. And really what's important here, this is not just hardware. This is about imitating human motion. For example, like picking an apple. You need to be able to precision spray in milliseconds while something is running over a farm. And then those systems also need to be able to be remotely managed. You need to be able to deploy updates. So you cannot fly in people to run updates. And you might need to manage a fleet of robotics. And now I haven't even talked about data. We heard some of this today. There's data that needs to be processed on the device or on the robot, what we call on the edge. There is data that needs to be provided into the supply chain. And then there's data you want to analyze post-harvest to improve sort of practices, kind of building a learning system of information. So all of this technology is managed by software. And, I spend a good amount of my time gladly with ag tech companies, like some of the ones we met today. And it's amazing to see the level of innovation those organizations are bringing to the industry. Some of the greatest have presented or will present today, and I have an incredible respect. But I also see that other speakers said this before, there's a lot of reinvention of the wheel, or even this like not invented here syndrome. And you see that even when when you travel from one continent to another. And some of the startups are building this entire tech stack from scratch with one or two people or 1 to 10 people and staff with various level of background in technology. So one might be a super expert for AI, but is the same person an expert in security. So now let me say that I just don't think, and I just repeat what others have said. I don't think there is time for reinventing the wheel. Um, this is even more true when you see what's coming down the line. We're facing a wave of innovation that's coming on the robotics side, from things like cobots that are collaborative robots that work alongside with humans. We see improved senses and advanced vision. We heard about images and image repositories, but we're heading into using synthetic images to train AI models, which might make some of this even unnecessary. And then we see more and more of those robots being managed out of the cloud, which then enables collective learning and enables a higher level of human robot interaction from a remote perspective. And then there's a whole wave of innovation coming around security and safety, because those systems, if they're open to the cloud, open up a risk of hazard. So if you want to move at the speed of light, you just simply cannot build everything from scratch. And I'd like to encourage the tech providers that are in the house today or listening in to really think about those modular systems. So you saw Mike Denchinger speaking about the common modular platform. That's really what we also consider as a platform as a service, a building block that allows organizations to build those solutions on top of it. From a Microsoft perspective, we have super heavy investments in IoT. I mean, just to give you this perspective, in IoT alone, there's a $5 billion investment in 10 years to improve everything that's related to the Internet of Things and things like digital twins. We have, I think, 5,000 people working alone on the artificial intelligence technology that includes everything from vision recognition, language translation, video recognition, and other things. So for this initiative specifically, we have building blocks like some of you might have heard about FarmBeats as an agriculture platform that's enabling not only data collection from the farm, but also has those data standardization and is enabling analytics on top of this geospatial and temporal data that's collected. We have another team working on AirSim, which is an open source simulation platform for autonomous systems. We have something called Project MOAP that's focused on deep reinforcement learning for machine teaching, which again is very important to train robots on those reoccurring tasks and improving those. And then there are simple things like fleet management that may or may not play a role for an individual startup in that place. So Microsoft wants to support the initiative. We want to work together with the startups. I want to take the opportunity to give a shout out for our Microsoft for Startup program, which really also has this ambition to help young organizations or companies that need help both on the financial side, which in our case would be then through things like cloud credits, but then also help to access the Microsoft ecosystem and give access to internal and partner resources that help both in the development, but then also in the area of co-sell. Now, you're in best hands with the Western Growers Association and their members, but there is an opportunity for us working together with those organizations to help them bring their products to the market. We want to bring those building blocks that I was just talking about to the table, and then really help organizations to build their solutions on top of it. I'd like to encourage the startups that are listening in today to really think about those partnerships. I know in my conversations, there's trust involved, and we need to build this trust in those partnerships. I want to encourage the investors that are in the room today to encourage the startups to build this trust working with strong partners, because I truly agree and believe what my previous speaker said, that this is a joint effort, and we won't succeed without one another. So for that, I'm just incredibly excited to be part of this initiative and to see how this started off today. And I congratulate the Western Growers Association for a great kickoff so far. Thank you.